Namaste. A very warm welcome to one and all. On behalf of Team Vedant, I take this opportunity to welcome you all at India's biggest virtual conference organized by Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited. Sustainable Development Goals 2030, Bridging Gaps, Building Futures for Viksit Bharat at 2047, a multidisciplinary international virtual conference happening between 18 to 22nd February 2025. Let us begin the conference with the prayer in the lotus feet of Almighty. Sanandamanandavane vasantam Anandakandam Atpapavrindam Varanasina Thamanatanatham Sri Vishwanatham Sharanam Prapadde. As the visionary organizers of this 11th conference, Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited is committed to fostering intellectual discourse, innovation and societal progress. Team Vedant has humbly taken vision of Viksit Bharat as their mission, and the present conference is the third version of Viksit Bharat at 2047 theme conferences, touching thousands of youth and hundreds of educators from diverse institutions and disciplines. With a rich history of organizing impactful conferences and academic events, we believe in creating platforms that transcend boundaries and empower individuals with knowledge and resources. Since last 10 years, Team Vedant is serving to various spheres of education and research domain at national and international levels in various capacities and earn many feathers in its crown. 50 plus universities, 200 plus colleges and 50,000 plus individuals have been served through Vedant's meaningful interventions. The major objectives of organizing the present conference are to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047 by taking it into mission mode through building ecosystem for a sustainable development, holistic growth of youth and empowering larger communities. Another objective is to create platform for diverse scholars and practitioners to collaborate on multidisciplinary solutions addressing multiple SDGs. The next one is to explore how India's vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 aligns with global SDG agenda for 2030 and to promote innovative practices, policies and technologies to bridge gaps and build resilient, sustainable communities. As you all know, the world approaches 2030 deadline for achieving the sustainable development goals. It is crucial for India to not only contribute to this global endeavor but also to align it with its national vision of a Viksit Bharat, a developed and inclusive India, by marking its 100th anniversary happening in 2047. This international research conference seeks to foster cross-disciplinary discussions, engage diverse stakeholders and catalyze innovative solutions to accelerate progress towards the SDGs while preparing India for sustainable, inclusive and prosperous future. Kiskinda University, Karnataka is knowledge partner of the present conference. The conference is specially supported by Monarch University and Atmiya University. This conference is happening between 18th February 2025 to 22nd February 2025. It is time to listen to our distinguished, the keynote speaker. Today with us we have a very senior academician, Professor Nicholas Burns. Professor Burns is a distinguished professor serving to the New York University, United States of America. Academic active in a wide range of fields, researcher widely published in both book and journal form in high quality outlets and with measurable and discriminable impact. Teacher committed to active learning for students and responsive pedagogy for professors. Administrator committed to facilitating and engaging colleagues. Dynamic and entertaining speaker presenting literature and culture in a public facing context. And writer exploring non-fiction and literary criticism as genres. His latest book, The Cambridge Companion to Australian Novel, was published by Cambridge University Press in the beginning of 2023. He has published over a dozen other books and perhaps 200 journal articles, book chapters, book reviews, etc. He has delivered his talks in form of academic talks as well as research talks across the world, and he is one of the most celebrated critic and author. Let us grab this opportunity to listen to Professor Nicholas Burns.
Thank you to Arjun Dave and to the Vedant organization for inviting me. I'm Nicholas Burns from New York University, and I'm going to speak of the particular contribution the literary humanities can make with respect to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Obviously, literature departments can contribute to sustainability in a very mundane way through recycling, through environmental practices, and otherwise conduct themselves in on-the-ground ways, fair employment, fair hiring. But not only is this very limited, but literature departments and literary academics can, as with anything, the way you help people is through your true work and not just through conducting your practical affairs in a conscientious way. That would just be trivial, but through doing our true work, you could really affect the world in profound ways. If you go into a discipline, even if it is not of seemingly urgent social relevance, you go into it because you believe it's in itself intrinsically can help change the world. One of the things, of course, that is dividing literary studies, or has been an issue in literary studies for a couple of generations, is multiculturalism. And multiculturalism, of course, means something different in India than in the United States than it does in Australia, which is a field I have also worked in. But there's often a debate with respect to national literatures or any literature that has a traditional canon. Is multiculturalism going to break or fracture or make meaningless that idea of a national literature? I believe that even though multiculturalism is often criticized as fracturing national unity and substituting a bewildering and divisive plurality, that multiculturalism can in fact reveal what is common among a population as well as what is different, and can reveal how a national idea is not just coextensive with one religion, ethnicity, heritage, or identity. I just saw on social media this morning there are some people attacking the idea that the United States is an idea. I think the United States should be an idea. We are not an ethno-state. We do not have one kind of person my immediate next door neighbor looks very differently and is from a very different background than mine, and that's the way it should be. And in that respect, multiculturalism can not only be constructive but patriotic. The very interesting Australian academic of Laotian background, Thitimani Tim Sutphomasani, has promoted a progressive patriotism, which can at once be committed to a national idea, but is also inclusive and heterodox. Another way of putting it is, even if a nation does not have a single dominant culture or acknowledges other cultures than a dominant culture, it does not mean there is no prevailing national idea. And even a relatively mono-ethnic state can have a national idea, like Somalia. Most people who are in Somalia are Somalis, although of various kinds. There should be a Somali national idea. I think there is, and the more that will emerge, the more that country will find unity, because idea and culture, even if they pertain to the same people, they are slightly different. Equally, inclusiveness does not mean ahistoricism or randomness. Opponents of broadening the literary canon often worry that this will mean genociding traditionally taught texts in ways that will dislodge any sense of history or widen what is studied to such an extent as to make the curriculum random and without censure. The people who complain, oh, my son is not studying Shakespeare. He goes to college in the United States and isn't studying Shakespeare. But there are ways to be inclusive in terms of canon and curriculum without casting away a sense of the past, an awareness of the power and limits of traditions, or a sense of emphasis on and prioritizing of certain texts. To both recognize a certain arbitrariness in what authors and texts we seek to prioritize, and nonetheless allow ourselves the right to tactically emphasize for immediate pedagogical and curricular purposes will produce an ongoing model that is sustainable and can broaden literary culture without losing the overall plot. Let me make clear what I mean by this. I believe that you should always be inclusive and look for new writers and look for undiscovered texts and try to be representative. Nonetheless, I think you should say, even if it's just for the purposes of the immediate class you're teaching, these texts are important to this effort. These texts are central. I am situating this. I am prioritizing this. And I should not be apologetic for prioritizing those texts. And if we do that, that practice can be sustainable and lead to a sustainable ongoing model which acknowledges both tradition and inclusiveness. One of the great virtues of literary studies is that more than the hard sciences or even the social sciences, it can place dilemmas and data in soft focus, not insisting there be hard and fast distinctions or demanding the firm reality of situations that in fact are far more indistinct and gossamer. Of course, there are some factors that are hard, that should be seen in hard focus. When texts were written, Hamlet was written, as far as we know, 1599 or so. It wasn't written in 1499. It wasn't written in 1699. What perspectives would have been historically available for authors? You can't talk about Shakespeare and the English Civil War between the Royalists and the Puritans because that occurred 30 years after his death. You could say maybe his work betrays his portrait of Malvolio in Twelfth Night. It is a portrait of a puritanical figure. You could see something incipient, but you can't write about what he didn't know. But there is also a good deal, both in readings of texts themselves and what frameworks we use to interpret texts, that is negotiable. So Shakespeare might not have heard of, the latest theorist you're using to analyze him, but his works can, in their grain, have that susceptibility to that theorist, both because Shakespeare's a very complex artist and thought of a lot of things that we're just catching up with, and because literary texts just have that elasticity in them. They have that negotiability. In this respect, I would like to at least moderately advocate, give, as they say in England, 2 cheers for some reconsideration of methodologies popular in the late 20th century and less popular now, such as deconstruction and hermeneutics that situate language as indeterminate hazy, and subject to dialogue and negotiations. Popular methodologies in the 21st century, such as digital humanities, speculative realism, and object-oriented ontology, perhaps represent an overreaction against such haziness and try to bring ideal and reality in too close a bind. And I would also point to the very admirable work of Rita Felski in this regard, but I know her work is very influential. But when she talks about, well, we should really enjoy literature again, or when Toriel Moy talks about that, we should really enjoy literature. I'm not sure our affect and the multiple realities of the text can ever be brought in that close a bind. And in that respect, I think the looseness of something like deconstruction is preferable. Now, as T.S. Eliot famously said, we cannot revive old policies. We cannot go back, and we cannot go back to the methodologies that were pertinent in the time when I trained. But I think as we go forward towards 2030 in literary studies, we need to have evaluation of pluralism and the multiple nuances of language. And this is particularly pertinent. I've been talking about this with some of my colleagues in an age menaced, or at least seeing the portents of AI and ChatGPT and large language models and models of language that seek to have the efficiency and communicative competency of language without the valence or multiplicity of language. I think talking about linguistic pluralism and elasticity as a mode of sustainability, I feel that can be hardening. Caroline Levine, who's one of the leading writers on these issues today, who teaches at Cornell, has recently argued, though, that to place too much emphasis on open-endedness and irresolution, as with my kind of deconstructive provenance I like to do that too much, talk about open-endedness and irresolution, is to place literature in a position of powerlessness and cultural pessimism. And that, in that sense, the happy endings of your classic 19th century realist novels, your Dickens, your George Eliot, in promoting the renewal of society and giving the reader hope in something substantive to which to hold on, are not necessarily less progressive than the open endings of 20th century modernist novels. And Levine is kind of interrogating that bind between formal irresolution and progressive social tendencies that the English department has, I agree, too reflexively relied on. Levine goes on to cite two late 20th century texts by the Botswanan novelist Bessie Head and the queer Jewish American writer Leslie Feinberg to show that there could be a complementarity, and she's deliberately picking a non-canonical text there, people of non-cis heteronormative white male European background. She's showing the complementary between happy and determinate endings and a sense of social possibility. Similarly, in a different mode, but similarly, Gia Tolentino, the New Yorker writer, has also suggested that the happy endings of 19th century American writer Louisa May Alcott, who you may know for Little Women, adapted numerous times for film, are less in conformity with the conventions of her day than an assertion that for women, happy endings are possible and desirable. And there's this whole literature where, like in the fiction of James Fenimore Cooper, he includes indigenous characters sympathetically, which is very remarkable for early 19th century American, white settler American, but they often die. And so if they're sympathetic, but they die, is that empowering indigenous people? Probably not. So happy endings can, in that way, have a politically positive effect and work towards that sustainable ecology of literary meaning that Caroline Levine is talking about. All this suggests that while we can see literary studies as more soft, focused, and layered than history or the social sciences, or certainly the STEM fields, to only talk about literary indeterminacy. And that's a mistake that the deconstructive era made. And I think people knew it at the time, but they were so caught up in that they did that. But to only talk about indeterminacy and not to stress the fact that literature and this is something the new historicists got right, and in a different way, object-oriented ontology gets right. Literature can disclose substance, reassurance, satisfaction, can be palpable as well as impalpable. And to deny this is to wrongly suppose literature is ineffectual and only in politics could actual goals be realized. And this is something I found in talking to people, particularly my father's generation. My father was about 35 years older than me. My mother's 25 years older than me. So my father's generation was a bit more different from me. And those people, when they talk about politics, they would be very left-wing. When they talk about literature, they wouldn't be left-wing at all. And they would not acknowledge any kind of social or political dimension to literature because they just saw literature as the total realm of play in almost a Schillerian sense, that literature was the place of the Spieltrieb, the play drive, and politics was hard or no nonsense. And sure, politics can and should be playful at times, and literature can and should be a space of realization, be a space of efficacy. I think that's how, to go to our greater subject, that's how I think you talk about sustainability and literature as a mode of sustainability and sustainable development goals. Talk about the way in literature can be efficacious, because literary people tend to stress so much time on poetry doesn't matter, poetry doesn't say anything, etc. And those of you who know Western literary theory know what I'm gesturing to. But there are ways in which literature can and should and is be efficacious. Now, specifically, obviously, one of the major sustainable goals, the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, is to eliminate poverty. And you may think, if you go into your freshman English class and ask your, not freshman comp, but your intro to literature class, ask your professor in your ponderous freshman student voice, can literature alleviate poverty? And your literature professor is going to give some, well, little Johnny, probably not, going to give some version of that. But let's think about how it might be able to do that. I think if you were asked in the past, the answer would be, well, literature can alleviate poverty by writers of fairly well-off background can write books addressed to readers of fairly well-off background and make people feel pity and empathy for the poor. And people should feel, oh, well, we should give more funding or make ending poverty more of a priority for social policy because this literature has moved us. Much as reading Uncle Tom's Cabin in the 19th century gave white readers, oh, well, we are dehumanizing the enslaved population and we should try to abolish slavery because this book has moved us. That's the kind of old-fashioned model where it's all about exciting the pity of the privileged, and it relies on stereotypes of literacy as associated with privilege and of underprivileged people as inevitably illiterate or less literate. And we know, there's a lot of literacy in orality. The late Peruvian critic Antonio Cornejo Polar spoke of heterogeneity and spoke of the way the indigenous population of Peru, which before the European conquest did not have writing, but nonetheless, they had oral signification. And that a lot of people today who are excluded from normative literacy have their own kind of literacy. And those patronizing models don't acknowledge that. as you know far better than I, over the past 2 decades, India has seen an extraordinary reduction in the number of poor people in its population. Indeed, 450 million people, according to stats that have been cited by several sources, as what my one students to do in these situations. Several sources have said 450 million people have been raised out of poverty in India during the last 2 decades. That is more than the entire population of the United States, which is about 350 million. And so to think of that, 100 more people than the entire population of the United States has been raised out of poverty. And this is obviously a tremendous achievement, I think. And, I teach novels from India and also novels about the South Asian diaspora here. And I think you're seeing that, the understanding that there's a growing middle class in India, there's a growing empowerment, there's a growing global access. And certainly, I think the contemporary reader of novels from India and the diaspora realizes that when India celebrates the 100th anniversary of independence in August 2047, India will be a very different country than the stereotypes we grew up on. And even people, when I read R.K. Narayan when I was 15, who's a writer I read a lot of, and the portrait of Malgudi, which is a wonderful portrait in those novels, that's as outdated a portrait as Faulkner's portrait of the American South probably is now. And so how literature can contribute to sustainability is by keeping us updated. And that old function of the novel of bringing news in a deeper way beyond the headlines, because we see it in the experiences of people, even in poetry, even in poetry. A poet like Ranjan, who I very much admire, or a poet like Jerry Pinto, or a diaspora writer like Bisham Birvani, I think is very much showing that. And greater global literacy about current conditions in India can foster awareness of how poverty has been reduced, and that maybe reflexively will lead it to being reduced more, because people will see that it's possible, that it's not a pipe dream. Equally, though, poverty can and is being reduced by literary study, particularly by people like a lot of you, people like who are teaching all over the world, who are teaching both individuals and families, who are fostering both individual and family literacy, and who are integrating that with the appreciation of literature. Too often we see understanding of language and literature on two different levels, where the teaching of literature should always, in fact, also foster and evangelize and include basic literacy. And just to clarify, I'm not so much saying, oh, well, these are two separate fields and literacy should include literature and literature should include literacy. I'm saying it already does. And I'm saying that when I teach literature, I'm also aware there are always students who, as we would say, don't really have their prerequisites, and that you're teaching them the basics, even as you're teaching other students the more advanced stuff. Equally, even when you're teaching the basics, you're also showing the students something about style, something about the properties of language, even when you're just teaching the linguistic conventions. This is, unfortunately, in the United States is in our pedagogic space, largely a monolingual society. India is much more inherently a multilingual environment. But of course, we are becoming a multilingual society as well. And even within English, there are a lot of different Englishes in this country and in India. And being aware of that continuum between literacy and literariness can really empower people and make literacy available in ways that can help ease people out of poverty, can change people's mentalities, and can enlarge the space of what is possible in life. Now, literary studies cannot do as much to address these goals as some of the other disciplines that people who are listening to me now represent. They're never going to be the main engine of advancing towards milestones, aspirations such as the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. But by providing examples of intellectual and discursive ongoingness and plausible performativity, which is another way of saying sustainability, representing the changing and improving, hopefully, conditions on the ground, and by showing us both the liberating range of multiple possibilities, including multiple political and cultural identities, and the availability and plausibility of happy endings, that literature can be a space of satisfaction and effectiveness, that we are not always yearning at things from far off, but there are possibilities of realization in literature. Literary studies can both mark our progress towards those goals and help actually advance the overall social and cultural conversation in a more broadly positive direction. In particular, by asking people to read, write, and reason for themselves, rather than rely on AI or ChatGPT or just what their teacher has told them or just what the cultural consensus has told them or just what their parents can have said you can or can't do. Literary studies can increase the power of individual minds, which is the only sure way to guarantee the overall common good. Thank you very much for your time. I wish your conference great success, and I am very appreciative that this is being done. I hope I have never visited India. I hope one day, I'm certain one day I will visit India and perhaps see some of you in person. But for now, I'm very grateful for you inviting me into your virtual space. And thank you very much for your time and attention.
Dear Professor Burns, we are really delighted, pleased and honored to have you grace this India's biggest virtual conference. Your talk was really insightful and the deliberations which you make are allowing us to think beyond. Thank you, Professor Nicholas Burns. The entire Team Vedant is really grateful to you. Thank you. Let me take the opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Vedvyas Dwivedi sir. He is currently serving as Vice President, Indus University, Ahmedabad. He is a well-known speaker, motivator, respected researcher and academic administrator. He has served as Principal and Vice Chancellor at various universities in India. He is an authority on Bhagavad Gita and Indian knowledge system. He belongs to a very rich spiritual tradition of Sanatan Dharma, a very senior academician and highly cited researcher. We have this opportunity to listen him. Let's invite Professor Dr. Vedvyas Dwivedi sir to talk to us.
Om Namaste. Today, the best and most pious and most pure day of 15th February 2025. This moment itself speaks everything. On the ground of knowledge, enlightenment, realization. Knowledge without imagination cannot be visualized. Why? The reason is there is no knowledge based on your experiences. And if your experiences are missing, then of course there is no base for any realization. If there is no realization, enlightenment of course is a dream. I can now see, I can now visualize. I'm so happy, to see Vedant Knowledge System Private Limited Rajkot. They have visualized it. They have realized the need of ancient Indian knowledge system. AI does not only stand for artificial intelligence. AI actually stands for ancient Indian and KS knowledge system, where practice is important. Talking about various knowledge streams and disciplines, and talking about knowledge branches is not sufficient for a country like Bharat, which is origin, which is not only the root, but it is the seed of knowledge. And where seed is there, seed knows how to sacrifice to transform itself from a seed to a big tree. Now Vedanta have become a big tree. Thousands and thousands of people, aspirants, are getting unlimited benefits on the knowledge platform for their career, for their knowledge gaining, for fulfillment of their dreams. And hence, this big banyan tree, if I see in terms of in the language of Lord Shri Krishna in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is this giving shelter to the thousands and thousands of aspirants in the world. This conference on IKS to be organized for 5 days, virtually in fact, is going to give benefit to all those aspirants in the world across, under various heads and subheads. And therefore, I am so much contented, I am so much happy to see the organizer of this conference, the stakeholders of Vedanta Rajkot, that Viksit Bharat in 2047, in line with the government of Bharat, how to be realized. And it is only possible by such qualitative contributions like organizing trainings, organizing skilling the people, reskilling the people, and sharing means caring. And if Vedanta is collaborating, it is making efforts to bring the people from heterogeneous platforms to come on a single platform, means Vedanta wants to share everything with everyone, and so it cares for everyone. And if it is caring, then it is our responsibility, duty also to care for Vedanta. Vedanta is caring for the whole soul growth and development and progress and vikas of Bharat on all aspects and all perspectives of humanity. It is not only contributing for human affairs, for welfare of some small narrowed down community, but it is on a broad level. The big-heartedness and broad-mindedness of Vedanta is visible over here in many terms. Indian knowledge system, when practiced in personal life, in social life, in community life, at national level, at local level, then its seed, its root, its stem, its fruits, its flowers, its leaves can be understood properly. Knowing something is not sufficient, but practice the same in our life is more important. And Vedanta is trying, making its all efforts to teach us how to practice IKS in our life. So, I, as a well-wisher of Vedanta, I, as an academician of the state of Gujarat, Professor Dr. Vedvyas Dwivedi, Executive Vice President of Indus University, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, Bharat Varsh, in fact Aryavart, would like to convey the message to be practiced in our life. Now, what kind of messages they are? Number one, start understanding the concept, the theme, the fundamentals, the principles of ancient Indian knowledge system, Prachin Bharatiya Gnana Parampara. And parampara does not come in a year or two. It's a legacy of thousands and thousands of years. So try to recognize by understanding the principles of IKS. What to recognize? So try to recognize the sacrifices of the ancestors who have made such a strong system, having no loophole in that knowledge system. And it is only possible when you start thinking to practice. So this is number one, message number one. Message number two, keep your all 1000 petals of Sahasrara to be open, and then receive infinite energy from the universe that is going to boost upon, that is going to, create acceleration in your dynamism. The science of IKS is totally different. It is not an art, it's not a subject which can be square bracketed in say 4, 5, 6 chapters. But it is from minus infinite x-axis to plus infinite x-axis. It is not one dimensional as a subject. It is 3-dimensional, 360-degree overall and holistic development of a small child to a 75-year-old aged human being. The third message, it is not for a community. It is not for a very small group. It is nothing with dharma like religions. Actually, dharma here is not a religion. So it is not for a specialized and some dharma only. It is for the whole humankind. Why? Because it talks about our whole health, complete health from inside to outside, outside to inside. It talks about what to eat, what not to eat. It talks about what to see, what not to see. It talks about everything. When to sleep, when to get up, what is Brahma Muhurta, what is, everything it talks about. It does not talk about some limited the characteristics of a good human being. It talks about from your birth to death and death to birth again. And therefore, no field of knowledge is escaped from it. It covers everything. It covers 360-degree north to south. It covers 360-degree east to west. It covers 360-degree all 10 dimensions. Top, bottom, left, right, front, back. All 10 dimensions, and 10 multiplied by 360-degree. How much? 3600 degrees it talks about. Why 3600 degrees? Because we have 72,000 nadis in our body. 72,000 nadis are being governed by one dimensions only. So there is a combination. 0000111, and this is what digital technology is talking us. It is not only artificial intelligence that simulates and tells something to us about Indian knowledge system, but it is our parampara that will tell us what actually the Indian knowledge system is. On this occasion, for 5 days of this conference, you have, the rarest of rarest opportunity to learn the things. So just learn it first. Keep it with you, share with your friends, with your colleagues, with your peers, with your family members, with your children, with your friends, and share it with everyone on this earth. All 840 crores of people of this earth deserve to know and understand and practice Indian knowledge system. Then only overall development of a nation, of the country, of the whole world is possible. IKS teaches us to learn from a tree, to learn from a river, to learn from a mountain, everything, because the smallest particle on this earth is live. Nothing on this earth, nothing in this universe in 5 tattvas is dead. Everything is live. And so everywhere there is a sensitivity. Everywhere there is a regulation, there is a discipline. And if we don't have discipline, Anushasan of Indian knowledge system, we will just take birth on this earth and then we will die on this earth. And without carrying anything worth. Therefore, I urge to you all to learn, to spread and start practicing in your life. And I'm very much thankful that Vedanta Knowledge System Private Limited Rajkot has given me such a wonderful opportunity to interact with you people, all 11,000 participants. Start writing 11, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. This 0 was invented. This is the contribution. This is a Yogadan of Bharat. And Viksit Bharat, all SDG 17 are going to be covered in Viksit Bharat. We are dreaming to see Viksit Bharat not in 47. We want to see through your contribution, through IKS contribution, a Viksit Bharat in 2030. Why? And that is why SDG 17, all 17 goals are talking about the targets, 269 targets to be achieved by 2030. And so our aim, our vision, our goal, our target is to achieve Viksit Bharat dream, dreamed by our beloved Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji, by 2030. And we all will be witness of it. So with these words, I pray to the Almighty to shower His rarest and His graces upon you all, most secret graces upon you all, so that we don't need any kind of shelter from anyone, but we become shelter for others. With these words, kindly accept my congratulations and best wishes for your whole life journey, and congratulations to Vedanta Knowledge Private Limited Rajkot, who has taken such a wonderful initiative where we all have come together to share and care for all of us. Jai Indian Knowledge System, Jai Bharat, Jai Anusandhan. Vedvyas Dwivedi, Gujarat, Bharatvarsh, Aryavart.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Vedvyas Dwivedi sir, for your very insightful talk. The keynote talk delivered by you has really helped us on this journey of Viksit Bharat. The entire Team Vedant is grateful to you for your time, support and wise words. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dear participants and stakeholders, let me invite today's plenary speaker, Dr. Iros Vaja. Dr. Vaja is serving as Associate Professor and Head of the English Department at Matusri Virbaima Mahila College, Rajkot, Gujarat. He held the position of Chairman of Board of Studies in English at Saurashtra University, Rajkot. He holds multiple advanced degrees including 2 PhDs, one in English and another in journalism, and delete from the USA. His academic interests encompass Indian writing in English, comparative literature, translation studies, journalism, law, and philosophy. He has presented numerous research papers at national and international conferences, with his work published in reputed journals. Dr. Vaja has also represented India at international forums, including the annual general meeting of Indian Association for Canadian Studies in Ottawa, Canada during the year of 2016. Beyond his teaching and research roles, he serves as an academic counselor at Indira Gandhi National Open University, widely known as IGNOU, and he is a certified master trainer in cyber safety and digital literacy. He has been honored with Delete by the University of South America for his dedication to education. Let's invite Dr. Iros Vaja to talk to us.
Namaskar everyone. It's a privilege to connect with all of you today in this virtual space to discuss a topic of great importance, great significance, Sustainable Development Goals 2030, Bridging Gaps, Building Futures of Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. As we approach the year 2047, our country India will celebrate 100 years of independence. The dream of Viksit Bharat, a fully developed and prosperous India, is not just a vision, it's a mission. It's a mission that requires collective action. But how do we achieve this? It is a big question. The answer lies in Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations, which serve as a global blueprint for eradicating poverty, eradicating so many social, financial problems, ensuring quality education, achieving gender equality, promoting clean energy, and fostering economic growth, all while protecting our planet Earth. India, as one of the world's fastest growing economies, has the potential to lead the way in achieving sustainable development. The government's policies and initiatives such as Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Digital India, Atmanirbhar Bharat and Jal Jeevan Mission are already contributing to several SDGs. However, there are still challenges to overcome economic inequalities, environmental concerns, digital divides, and gaps in education and healthcare. Dear friend, in today's talk, we will explore the importance of SDGs, how they are helping us bridge gaps in development, and how they are paving the way for sustainable and prosperous India by 2047. We will look at key sectors such as education, economic growth, environmental sustainability, and technology, and understand how each of us can contribute to this journey. Because the future of India is not just in the hands of the policymakers. It is in the hands of every one of us, every citizen of India. So, let us begin by first understanding what the SDGs are and why they are critical for our nation's progress. Friends, Sustainable development is the need of the hour as the world faces economic, social, and environmental challenges. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals provide a roadmap uh, to ensure a better and more sustainable future for every one of us. These 17 global goals, which were adopted in 2015, they aim to address critical issues such as uh, poverty, hunger, quality education, gender equality, clean energy, and climate action. With 2030 as the target year for achieving these goals, their successful implementation will play a significant role in shaping India's journey towards Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. A vision, a vision of fully developed, self-reliant India by the 100th anniversary of our independence. India, as one of the fastest growing economies in the world, has a crucial role in realizing the SDGs. The government of India has aligned its national policies and initiatives with SDGs, aiming for inclusive growth, economic strength, and environmental sustainability. Initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, Digital India, environmental sustainability, uh, then Swachhta Abhiyan, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and Jal Jeevan Mission. They directly contribute to multiple SDGs. They bridge the gaps in access to resources and opportunities. The Niti Aayog, which monitors SDG progress of our nation, it has been instrumental in localizing these global goals by engaging states and districts to implement relevant policies. One of the biggest challenges, according to me, in achieving SDGs is bridging the gap between different social economic sections of our society. Economic inequality, then gender disparity, digital divide, and rural urban disparities need to be addressed to ensure that no one is left behind. For example, while India has made significant progress in reducing poverty, millions still struggle with food security and healthcare issues. Programs like PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, and National Nutrition Mission have helped in improving the living standards. But, dear friends, we must always keep in mind that more efforts are needed to reach the most vulnerable sections of our society. Education, as all of us we know, is the foundation of any developed nation, and India is one of them. And for India to achieve the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, investing in quality education and skill development is essential. Sustainable Development Goal 4, that is SDG 4, emphasizes the need for inclusive, equitable, and quality education for everyone, ensuring that children, youth, and adults have access to lifelong learning opportunities. India has made significant strides in improving literary rates, school enrollments, and access to higher education, but challenges still. There are quite a few challenges such as digital inequality, then infrastructure gaps, and outdated curricula still need to be addressed to fully realize our country's potential. NEP, that is National Education Policy 2020, is a transformative step towards achieving SDG 4 and preparing India's youth for the future. NEP introduces holistic, flexible, and multidisciplinary approach to learning, moving away from rote memorization and emphasis critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. The policy promotes early childhood care and education, that is ECCE, vocational training, digital learning, and research driven education that makes education more relevant to the demands of the 21st century. One of the major gaps in India's education system is the digital divide, and especially in rural areas. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the importance of online and blended learning. But millions of students in remote and unprivileged communities struggle due to the lack of internet access, digital devices, and proper infrastructure. The government has launched various initiatives like Diksha, PM, eVidya, and Swayam to provide free digital learning resources. But more investments in rural internet connectivity, affordable devices, and digital literacy training are needed to ensure that technology driven education is truly inclusive. Dear friends, for India to become a global economic powerhouse, merely providing academic education is not enough. There is a strong need to equip the workforce with industry relevant skills to meet the demands of an evolving job market. Skill India Mission, PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, that is PMKVY, a National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, that is NAPS, are some of the government's key programs that focus on vocational education and skill training in sectors like manufacturing, IT, healthcare, green energy, and construction. These programs aim to make youth employment ready and self-reliant. Uh, Additionally, with the rapid advancement in AI, artificial intelligence, automation, blockchain, and data science, India must invest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In short, we call it STEM. STEM. S stands for science, T for technology, E for engineering, and M for mathematics. To remain competitive in the global economy, initiatives like Atal Tinkering Labs, AI for All, and National AI Strategy are paving the way for future ready workforce that can drive innovation and technological growth. Another critical aspect of SDG 4 is ensuring education for all, regardless of gender, socio-economic background, or disability status. In India, efforts like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalay, and Samagra Siksha Abhiyan have played a crucial role in increasing female literacy rates and promoting girls' education. However, gender disparities, especially in STEM fields and higher education, still exist and must be addressed through targeted policies and awareness campaigns, awareness programs. Inclusive education must also cater to children with disabilities and marginalized communities. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, in brief we call it RPWD 2016. It ensures that children with special needs receive proper support, but schools must adopt assistive technology, trained educators, and inclusive learning environment to fully integrate them into mainstream education. For India, to truly become knowledge-based economy, investments in higher education, research and innovation is crucial. Indian universities and research institutes must collaborate with global academic leaders, promote interdisciplinary studies, and focus on cutting-edge research in the fields like renewable energy, space technology, biotechnology, and AI, that is artificial intelligence, etc. The National Research Foundation, that is NRF, launched under the NEP, aims to boost the research funding and encourage innovation among students and faculty members. Encouraging culture of entrepreneurship and startups within universities is also very essential. The programs like Startup India and incubation centers in IITs and IIMs and other leading institutions are fostering a new generation of job creators rather than job seekers. By integrating industry academia partnership, universities can ensure that graduates have the skill needed to excel in the workforce and contribute to economic growth. Education is not just about literacy. It is the cornerstone of developed and self-reliant India. By ensuring universal access to quality education, bridging the digital divide, promoting vocational skills, fostering innovation, and making learning more inclusive, India can build a strong future-ready workforce that will drive progress towards Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. To achieve SDG 4 by 2030 and beyond, it is essential that the government, private sectors, civil society, and individuals work together to create an equitable and high quality education system that empowers every Indian to reach their full potential. Sustainable economic growth is another key pillar in India's journey towards development. SDG 8 focuses on decent work and economic growth, emphasizing employment generation, entrepreneurship, and industrial innovation. With initiatives like Make in India, Startup India, production linked incentive, that is PLI scheme, India is fostering a robust manufacturing and startup ecosystem. However, to truly achieve economic prosperity, India must ensure that growth is inclusive, environmentally sustainable, and driven by technology and innovation. Environmental sustainability is at the core of SDGs, and India is committed to climate action, is evident in its participation in international agreements like Paris Agreement and initiatives like Mission Life, LIFE, as it stands for Lifestyle for Environment. India aims to achieve net zero carbon emission by 2070, but significant progress needs to be made by 2030 in areas like renewable energy, adaptation, and waste management. Programs like National Solar Mission and a faster adoption of manufacturing electric vehicles are steps towards reducing dependence on fossil fuels. However, environmental conservation should not be just a government responsibility. Every citizen must contribute by adopting sustainable practices in their daily lives. The role of technology and digital transformation in achieving SDGs cannot be overlooked. India's digital public infrastructure such as Aadhaar, UPI, CoWIN is the COVID Vaccine Intelligence Network, has set an example for other countries in supporting technology for government, for governance and service delivery. SDG 9, which focuses on industry, innovation and infrastructure, highlights the importance of technology-driven development. As India moves towards Industry 4.0, investing in artificial intelligence, blockchain and green technologies will be key to ensuring sustainable and efficient growth. For India to become Viksit Bharat by 2047, it is essential to ensure that all citizens have equal opportunities for growth and development. This requires strong governance, public-private partnership, and active citizen partnership in sustainable development initiative. The youth of India, in particular, have a crucial role to play in shaping the future by engaging entrepreneurship, social impact initiative, and community-driven development programs. Achieving sustainable development goals by 2030 is not just a milestone, but stepping stone towards making India a developed nation by 2047. While significant progress has been made, there is still much work to be done. A collective effort from the government, private sector, civil society, and individuals is needed to bridge existing gaps and build a prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable future. By focusing on economic growth, social equality, environmental conservation, and technological advancement, India can successfully transition into a Viksit Bharat. It will set an example for the world to sustainable development. Achieving sustainable development goals by 2030 is not just an international commitment, it is a crucial milestone on India's journey towards becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047. By addressing challenges in education, economic growth, environmental sustainability, and technological advancement, we can bridge the gaps that still exist and build a future that prospers, inclusive, and sustainable for every one of us. The government has taken significant steps through initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, then Digital India, Swachh Bharat, and Skill India. But true transformation requires the collective efforts of policymakers, educators, businesses, students, and every citizen of India. Each of us has a role to play in this mission, whether by adopting sustainable practices, supporting education, embracing innovation, or contributing to social and economic development. The choice we have, the choice we make today will shape the India tomorrow. As I remember one saying, the saying goes like this: we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. Let us ensure that by 2047, we hand over a nation that is not only developed but also sustainable, equitable, and thriving. With determination, collaboration, and a shared vision, we can turn this dream into reality. Friends, before I conclude, I would like to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this conference for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on this important topic. It has been an honor to be a part of this insightful discussion, and I truly appreciate the effort and dedication put into making this event a success. A special thank goes to Vedant Knowledge System Private Limited for bringing together such a distinguished group of speakers and participants. Platforms like these plays a very crucial role in exchanging ideas, inspiring action, and working collectively towards a better future. Once again, thank you all for your time, engagement, and thoughtful participation. Let us continue working together to make the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047 a reality. Once again, thank you very much. जय हिंद, वंदे मातरम, भारत माता की जय.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iros Vaja sir. We really loved your talk and we sincerely appreciate your time and all the love. Thank you very much, sir. Dear friends, do you know it is always heartening for the conference organizers to have special guests to grace and bless the event. Dear friends, we have with us our guest, Professor Dr. Nihar Ranjan Biswas. Here he is to motivate us in our journey of taking up Viksit Bharat as our mission. Professor Dr. Nihar Ranjan Biswas is the Vice Chancellor of Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, a prestigious health sciences university in Pondicherry, India. He brings extensive expertise in medical education and administration. Before joining SBV, he served as the Director and Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences, Patna, and held key positions at Mahavir Vatsalya Aspatal and Mahavir Heart Hospital. With a distinguished career in clinical pharmacology, Dr. Biswas has contributed significantly to medical advancements and international health programs. Under his leadership, SBV continues to excel in medical education, research and healthcare innovation. Let's invite Professor Biswas to talk to us.
Namaste. Thank you very much, Vedant Knowledge System Private Limited, for having invited me to deliver a talk on realizing SDG 2030 and Viksit Bharat 2047 through the efforts of youth and academia at the multidisciplinary international virtual conference on Sustainable Development Goals 2030, Bridging Gaps, Building Futures for a Viksit Bharat at the rate of 2047. I am extremely happy to talk to you all and ever grateful to the organizers for the opportunity extended to me to share my views to numerous universities and colleges worldwide, particularly to more than 50,000 individuals globally. It's heartening to note that the organizers had already completed 10 such events till date, and this is the 11th year of organizing the academic events for the benefit of academic and research community. Congratulations for enabling such a great motivational work, particularly to our youth who will be the torch bearers of Viksit Bharat 2047. It might be of interest to note that the concept of the Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDGs, was developed at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development held at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 2012. The objective was to produce a set of universal goals that meet the urgent and long-standing environmental, political, and economic challenges that confront our world. The United Nations SDGs are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals. In order to realize Sustainable Development Goals 2030, the Committee of Higher Educational Institutes, particularly different universities of India, should join together for playing a major role. In the spirit of collaborative efforts from all higher education institutions for realizing the 2030 agenda, we must strive together. This sort of multidisciplinary international virtual conference presently organized by Vedant Knowledge System Private Limited is a laudable effort which is already appreciated by Honorable Prime Minister and Education Minister of India. Education is the most important attribute of any country to help realize and achieve the full human potential, paving the way for an equitable and just society, thereby promoting holistic growth and development of our nation. The new education policy 2020 has laid a lot of emphasis on internationalization of higher education, which can help in making India a global hub for imparting quality higher education that would result in the Indian universities to achieve enhanced global rankings. The modern Indian higher education system has come a long way since independence to become the third largest education system in the world. It caters to an astonishing figure of over 3.7 million students, next only to the US and China. In the last decade itself, the overall gross enrollment ratio GER has increased from a mere 15% in 2009 to 2010 to a much improved 26.3% in 2018 to 2019. The Global Education Development Agenda reflected in the SDG 4 of the 2030 Agenda adopted by India in 2015 seeks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. The National Education Policy 2020 reiterates the commitment by setting the target of 50% GER in higher education by 2035. Higher education institutes should make sincere and well-channelized efforts to address the rudimentary questions of quality, accessibility, equality, equity, and accountability in the context of the present education system in India with urgent effect and in the right speed to provide facilities that would promote and foster inclusivity and quality in education to bridge the gaps and for building futures for a Viksit Bharat at the rate of 2047. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Nihar Ranjan Biswas ji, for accepting our invitation and taking out your precious time to grace the event. We are really grateful to you for your talk, wise words, and all the love. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. To justify this vote of thanks journey is very important, and we are together traveling towards Viksit Bharat and witnessing this India's biggest virtual conference for 5 days. Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited and all stakeholders of it are feeling honored to host you all in India's biggest virtual conference addressing Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2047. It is indeed pleasure to have graceful presence of esteemed guests, esteemed speakers, experts, session chairs and dear participants. We would like to thank one and all participated in this event, directly, indirectly, for being with us in this beautiful event. We would like to thank our mentors, advisors, esteemed experts, all the dear participants, knowledge partner institutions, leaders of our nation and leaders from education sector, directors of Vedant Knowledge Systems and all the stakeholders of this event for your time, contributions and all love. Thank you all. Thank you for being with us in this journey. Thank you.